Welcome to Cosmic Channels. I'm your host, Braden. Welcome back, Cosmic Channelers. I was gone for a week. You may notice that I am a tad bit less pale. I was in Mexico for the week. Took the week off last week. But we're back. We're back at it. If you got a story, you got a paranormal story that haunted you as a kid, you've seen a cryptid that you just couldn't explain in the woods, you've had a spooky experience with a seance or a tarot card reading, I want your stories. I want your true stories. Give me a call, 1-833-703-0424. I don't know where everyone is tonight. It's fucking dead. No one's called in. I think the lines are working. I don't know. We need that first caller on the line. So if you got a story or you want to test the lines, 1-833-703-0424. Let's get after it. I need some calls tonight, right? I gotta put together 2 more episodes. So we need some callers. What we're raising up here for right now in Cosmic Channels is that UK extension. When we left 2 weeks ago, we're $40. I actually think it's a little more than $40, but we're $40 towards the $141 goal so we can have a designated UK line year round, so that people calling don't pay 30 pounds for a 5-minute call. So lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. Just some updates. We kind of a cool thing's been happening is that we've been getting some people writing in, and I hope these people will call in and tell their stories. But with some of we're starting to get a little bit of traction on some of the social media campaigns. We have audio campaigns going at the moment. This person, Nathan, messaged in, and he said he is actually a former caller. He called in with the Frozen in Time story, I think, from season, I think it's 7.1 or 7.2. He called in, and he was listening to the newest season 8 premiere, and listened to the story about the floating head or the flying head, and he sent a picture of a time when he was. It looks like he says he had a trip and he had a flying head experience or a floating head. So he sent these in. He just said, I would love to call back on and tell you about this trip and these heads I saw. So let's just quickly see if I can pull this up on the fly for those of you in the live stream. I mean, I heavily edit the podcast version, so I cut all this out. So let's see if I can fit this, fit the screen. Can you see that little head? Yeah, he saw that on a riverbank, and he didn't notice it right away because the first picture he sent was in the background of someone kayak. You just see a little head sitting there on the woods. Very similar to what the color described, but I mean, not the same. That one looks, I mean, looking at that, I'm like, it's creepy. But, I mean, the other description of the big smile, always facing. But, I mean, that's a weird thing. But they gave, I don't want to give too much away, but they gave a map of the location, the metadata of where this head was located. So, Nathan, if you are listening and you're watching on YouTube, we want you to call back in and listen. One of my new favorite things is these head apparitions. They're the best thing ever. Someone just donated in the chat there to help us get that UK caller. Sorry, I don't know why it did pop up for me. I will see it in a second here, and then I'll give you a big shout out. Bandito, of course. Bandito's always looking out for the UK callers. So yeah, if you've seen a floating head or a flying head, I want you to call in. The other thing that I have coming soon is it's very interesting. Yeah, AI Scary Stories Illuminated. If you go check out our podcast version, the season premiere 8.1, I think it's floating heads or flying heads. The last story, a tree planter talks about seeing a Native American legend of a flying head, a floating head. I can't remember if it's floating or flying. I think it's flying head in the woods that kept facing him whenever he looked at it. But when he walked closer to it, it would disappear. Terrifying. Now we're getting people are listening to that and being like, starting to message me about their own flying head experiences. The other thing people have started doing is people have started sending me their ghost photos, which is interesting, but I don't know what I'm looking for. Let's look at this one. This one comes from Todd. Todd sent this one in, and it says, all it said is, I took this at my late friend's place on my T-Mobile Sidekick. So like 2011-ish. What are your thoughts? Literally zero context with what I'm looking at here in this picture. So like I'm not sure. I was trying to look at it to see if there was anything that I could see, but I don't know what I'm looking for or what I'm looking at. So if you're sending me in weird ghost pictures you took, you need to point me in the direction of where I'm looking for. Like, is it a doll? Is that creepy? Is that not supposed to be there? I don't know what's not supposed to be there, Todd. I love this stuff. Jesus in the wall above the gray counter. Where is that? Yeah, that's above the gray counter. Is that? Yeah, I don't know if that's. I think that's a doll there though. Maybe, I don't know. But the lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. But listen, I support this. You got photos and stuff. You want to send in. The only thing I ask is if you're gonna send me photos of your flying heads, of your ghost shot, any of that stuff. I want it. I want it all. But you got to give me some context. I need a little write up about it. What's going on? Where am I looking at? Those are parameters. But let's get a caller on the line. Come on. There we go. Just like that. Ask and you shall receive. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Braden. It is Henry. I'm calling from Northern California.
What's going on, Henry? How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, yeah, not too bad. I just got back from vacation with a 1-year-old. So now I need a couple days vacation from that. So
So tonight I've got a little bit of like a UFO, like weird light story that interests you.
Oh, dude, it all interests me. Let's hear it.
Okay, so this is actually from the perspective of my mom. So I'm telling on behalf of her, but I was in the car when it happened. So I'm on a road trip with my family. I'm probably 10 or 11. I've got older sisters in the car. We're traveling through the Rocky Mountains in like the middle of the night. And all three of us are asleep. Obviously, my mom's driving. And we get through a particularly rough stretch, and it kind of flattens out. And she says that, it's like a big, wide open, maybe like 5 or 10 miles of just flat stretch up in the Rockies somewhere. And there's still traffic, there's semis driving and whatnot. And out of nowhere, in the field to her right, she says about, 100 feet up, the entire field lights up, and there's a triangle, 3 distinct lights, like set back in this field, a few hundred yards. And it's just like a blinding, it's almost like spotlights pointed towards the road, but it's several hundred feet, it's like 100 feet up or whatever she said. And she has to, she starts looking at it and she's freaking out, and it just turns off. It's like super bright lights for like 5 seconds, and she can see the whole field. So there's something like floating in the field, and it's just 3 intense lights. She pulls over, and she's like, what was that? And she's like looking at the field, and there's nothing there anymore. A semi-truck driver also pulls over, and they end up actually talking about it because he saw the exact same thing, and neither of them could figure out where the light came from because there was nothing in that field.
That's so wild. So, like, shocking enough to stop the vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. And
right.
There wasn't anything in the field, and it was just a big empty field.
Because, I mean, like, that in itself says something to me, because I'm like, in order for, like, if I'm driving anywhere, in order for me to stop the car, it would have to be quite amazing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, for not only your mom to stop, but then, like, also, like, a truck driver, like, that's like, the time is money for those guys. You know what I mean? Like, this must have been incredible to see.
Yeah, and we ended up getting, because that was like probably like midnight or 1 a.m. when that happened, and we were driving to our cousins in Montana, and we ended up getting there, and my uncle is like super ex-military. He was in the Marines, and now he's an engineer. And like the first thing she asked him was like, hey, is there like, are there any like flights or weird things like experimental aircraft or military stuff going on nearby? And he's like, no, why do you ask? And then she told him that story, and he was completely weirded out. It's like, there's nothing like that around here.
Yeah, so just going back to it, like, it illuminated the field, or was it a light in the sky? Like, where?
It illuminated the field, and it was like shining towards the road, but like you could still make out like a triangular shape in the middle of the field. So not like, not like a tower at the edge of the field or something way at the back. It was just like isolated by itself in the middle and like 100 feet up.
But there's nothing in the field. So it's like there's
Exactly. Yeah. Once the light went away, there was just like nothing there. And obviously she wasn't the only one that saw it.
I mean, it's so interesting, because my mind kind of races to some of these like weird legends, like from like the Borrego Triangle. Shout out to Monsters Among Us. and David Flora for their documentary kind of turned me onto like legends of these like almost like a spotlight in the desert. People say it's like a lantern, floating lantern.
Oh yeah, that'd be creepy. Yeah,
right.
That sounds right.
but that's kind of like what you're describing is this like this source of light that's just floating above. That, you know, it sounds very similar, although yours sounds much more powerful than just like, you know, a lantern.
Yeah, and it was 3 lights in a triangle shape.
And like, did they? And what were any colors to them?
No, she just said they're just like white lights.
White lights, just boom, bright on.
Like 3 spotlights, just like connected to each other in a triangle, and just boom, on for I think like 10 seconds, and then she pulled over, and they turned off, and then she pulled over, and she's like, what? And there was nothing in the field, and it was up above the field.
That's so weird. So whereabouts was this on the drive? Do you know?
We were heading to Missoula, so I mean, considering I think that was about 1 a.m. and we got to the cousins around like 3, so somewhere along the way, like 2 hours away from Missoula, Montana.
Huh. Okay. And
middle of nowhere.
Just yeah. That's so strange. I'm just like no sounds or nothing like that.
No, not that she could remember.
And how long did they last, the lights?
Like 10 seconds, I'm pretty sure. That it was just like boom, on, and she's like trying to figure out, she's like, what is that light? And then off, and then she pulled over. She was like, why is there basically giant spotlights, you know, at like a radio tower level in the middle of the field at 1 a.m?
Yeah, and were they shining? Were they directed like at you on the road, or were they directed at the ground?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if they were radiating in every direction or not, but like, she just said it was like bright towards her.
Which is more shocking because you're like, why are these things shining at the road at night?
Yeah.
That's so weird, man. How long ago was this? What year? Do you know? Any idea?
I think probably around 2012.
2012? Weird. That's so strange. It's very unique in a way because of just like this, just the lights and the shape is. I mean, the triangle shape is very much UFO. You hear that lots of the triangle shape, but just the fact that it comes on, it shines, and you know, maybe it was in all directions, and it just from your perspective, it looks like it's shining at you, because maybe that's why the truck driver pulled over as well, because he's like, from his perspective, he's like, this is shining at me. But it's just a very unique, and then gone. It's not like you see something fly away. It's not like you see something lift off. It just whatever it was disappeared.
Yeah, and she was, you know, curious enough to pull over, and then like she talked like all night with my uncle about it once we got there.
Yeah. Does she still talk about it?
Yeah, she always pulls that story out.
I mean, I mean, when you see something like that just defies logic, and you know, anything that you've known or seen, I mean, it sticks with you.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are your thoughts? What do you think it was?
I think it was probably a UFO. I mean, that's like her main UFO story. I've seen some weird stuff, and I mean, I definitely think there's stuff out there. So I'd go with, you know, I'd lean towards it being a UFO, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's like, it's such a unique one, because you're like, you don't even really know if it was flying though, right? It's like, because you didn't see it fly, it just appears and then disappears. It's like an unidentified stationary object, right? Because you're like, it just appeared, disappeared, like no flight. It's weird because you would like, if we're gonna go some sort of craft, you don't see, like, unless that thing gets cloaked and takes off silently, it's seemingly, if we're to trust the eyes, it just disappears, right? So it's like,
maybe the aliens accidentally hit the high beams or something.
Maybe.
They're like, oh shit, we gotta get out of here.
They're just floating there, and then they turn the beams on and then turn them. They're like, oh, you hit the beams, turn them off. I mean,
dude.
yeah, I mean, that would make the most sense kind of logically. And then it was there the whole time. You just couldn't see it after that because it's just sitting there.
Yeah, they're
cloaked.
just like phase shifted, like active camo, and then some dumbass bumps the high beam.
Well, and I mean, I've taken lots of calls now about like what I'm calling like the void, right? Where it's like people see this object that like at night, and it's not that they can see something; they can just see the absence of light. Like where it passes, the stars disappear and stuff like that. So it's like, so maybe that was it, and what you saw, and it just flicked the lights on, flicked the lights off. But I'm guessing, was it a big field? Like, was there a backdrop of a mountain or something, or was like
basically like farmland, like up in the mountains. So like a pretty massive area.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I remember like we were coming out of the mountains down into, getting closer and closer to Missoula, and you just hit these stretches where it's like, like Dumb and Dumber, where
the Rockies,
what looks like
thought the Rockies would look a little rockier.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I get you. Hey, man, Henry, thank you so much for calling in with that story. That's a phenomenal UFO story, very unique, and I'm hoping that people hear that. And the cool theme that's been happening is that people, whether it be a couple weeks or a month after or so, will listen and be like, I had a similar story to that. So hopefully we get some more calls about that kind of UFO, whatever it was you saw.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me, Braden.
Hey, thank you so much for calling in. Take care of yourself.
Have a good. Bye-bye.
Bye. It's just a very unique, just the lights on. I think I'll have to agree with Henry and say that if I was to believe that's a UFO, that the lights coming on may have been accidental, or they were just kind of seeing, like, if people would stop or notice, and they did, and then they turn them off and just sit and observe. It's hard to say. But just like that, the lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. You call and tell your UFO story. I want to hear it. You've seen a cryptid. You've seen a ghost. I want to see it. I want to hear it. So call in 1-833-703-0424 with that. And also, if you want to read a story for Cosmic Channels, we've got tons of fan submissions, and I didn't have time to prep a couple for tonight's episode, but I need to get some ready. So now's the perfect time. If you want to read a fan submission, shoot me an email, shoot me a message on social media, and I will hit you up with the story for you to read, and then I will play on one of the live streams in Season 8. But we need some more calls, people. It's already 6:22. We only got one call. 1-833-703-0424. I'm going to throw it to Old Story Read, and as we're waiting for the next call, maybe I'll interrupt it if we get a call. Let's go with this one. Okay. Stand by first. Nice little story. Lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sab Moon, and today I will be reading a fan submission. Howdy, channelers. My name is Rob. I'm 35 and from Dublin, Republic of Ireland. I've been meaning to write in for a while now because I know you guys love a good tale, so here it goes. I'm not sure if having a sense of spirits or ghosts is actually a thing, but between myself and my mother, we've had maybe 7 or 8 experiences. I'll start with 2 stories from my mother, and I'll just give you the one from me because it could go on a bit. First story. When my mother Julie was about 13 or 14, herself and her best pal Sandra would hang around Johnny Cullen's Hill around the corner from my grandmother's house. The hill was named after the supposed headless horseman who was seen many times traveling back and forth over it. Apparently the only other place outside of Sleepy Hollow named after a headless horseman. At the bottom of the hill there was a church known as the Black Church. I'm not sure why it was called this, to be honest, and it's gone now. Below the church there was a series of underground tunnels and caverns, and this is where my mother and her friend decided to break in one day just to get up to no good, as kids do. The church had been closed a while by then, and they had to climb under a broken wooden gate to get in. Once in, they headed to the back of the church and down into the tunnels. My mother says while down there after a while, she needed to go pee really badly, so she told her friend to wait and keep lookout, even though there definitely wasn't anyone else around. While midstream, Sandra said, "Hurry up, I hear a noise." With that, instantly from around the corner of one of the connecting tunnels, a very tall man dressed in all black and wearing a black top hat appeared and started walking towards them. My mother pulled up her trousers as quick as she could and ran to Sandra. They both stood there looking at the man, afraid to move because clearly this man was going to be angry they broke in. Maybe an odd caretaker of some kind, they thought. They immediately started apologizing for breaking in and said they'd leave right away, but the man didn't respond. Sandra, being a bit rough and never afraid to speak up, shouted, "Fuck off, you weirdo. We're going, okay?" My mother grabbed her arm to get her attention and to stop her from reacting. Sandra shrugged off my mother's grasp and said to her, "No, I don't care. We're not doing anything wrong. We're leaving now anyway, okay?" Right then, my mother, with tears streaming down her face, muttered, "Sandra, look at his feet. Oh, fuck's sakes, where's his feet?" Sandra looked down, and what they seen wasn't feet, but what looked like horses' hooves. The hooved man took a few steps toward them without making a sound, and so in panic mode they ran as fast from the man in almost pitch black further into the tunnel, sobbing and screaming all the way, and eventually made their way out back into the gardens of the church. My mother told me they didn't speak much about that night until they were in their 20s, but both agreed and knew what they had seen. According to my mother, whoever or whatever it was, it certainly wasn't good. Second story. When my mother was about 15 or 16, she says she can't remember exactly, she hung around in a group of about 5 girls and 5 boys. One of the boys, Paul, who was a little older than the rest, was the one who all the girls were crazy about. He was the tall kid who wore the leather jacket and smoked cigarettes and was known to be a bit of a rebel, a so-called heartthrob, according to my mother. Well, one day while walking to the corner shop for milk for her dad, straight after 10 a.m. Mass had finished, she seen Paul standing alone outside the shop, standing with his back to the wall, one leg up on the ground and the other up against the wall, the way he always stood, the way only the coolest guys do, as you know. Well, they chatted for about 10 minutes, and my mother remembers going red in the cheeks and thinking maybe she had a chance to kiss Paul before any of the other girls got a chance. It didn't happen. She was annoyed. She certainly didn't make a move, but they said their see you laters, and she went home with the milk, thinking about Paul the whole time. About 1 or 2 hours later, there was a knock on my mother's door. It was 3 of her girlfriends. This was very unusual because on a Sunday, in Ireland in the early 70s, you wouldn't see your friends. You'd be in for the day and have a family Sunday dinner. The 3 girls were crying hard. One of the girls blurted out, "It's Paul. He's dead. He's fucking dead, Julie. He's dead." My mother looked so confused. "Will you lot fuck off? He's not dead." "Wait, what Paul are you talking about?" "Our Paul, Julie. He drowned in the river." My mother collapsed to the ground, trying to figure it all out. The girls came into the house, and they all sat in the kitchen and cried. The reports came back that Paul had died by drowning while swimming with friends at 10 a.m. on the Sunday morning. My mother spoke to Paul at around 11:30 a.m. One of Paul's friends at the funeral was wearing Paul's leather jacket. Apparently he was wearing it out the night before Paul died and had it the whole time in his bedroom that day. While my mother was talking to Paul's ghost that day, he was wearing that jacket. No one ever believed her, but she says to this day that she's glad she got to have one last chat with Paul, whether he was of this world or not. So my mother has many stories about her experiences, but I'll move on to one of my own. I cannot express how real this was by writing it, and I won't have all the detail, but sure, here's what happened to me. From the age of around 17 to 20, myself and a huge gang of both lads and girls would all meet up in a local pub every Thursday for a good session, and there was a Thursday's night pub quiz on as well, so that was always fun. On this particular night, I remember not really being up for the crake, and I was very aware that I had to go into work a bit earlier than normal. So after 4 pints, I headed off. Now at this point, I want to make it clear that I was not drunk. I mean, come on, I'm Irish and would drink about 8 to 10 pints on a night out. I was being sensible, said my goodbyes, and went to walk home. It was a cold December night, and I remember because it struck me that it was 11:59 p.m. when I entered the park to cut through a shortcut. The park was pitch black and a bit eerie, but I grew up here and played football here all my life, so I felt safe enough that I knew everyone local, so I started walking. I was about a minute in walking along a path that cuts through the park that leads to a bridge over a river and onto a main road. By the way, this is the same river as mentioned earlier that Paul drowned in. Anyway, as I was walking out of the darkness and silence, the loudest, most ear-piercing scream filled the air. It made me jump and gave me instant chills. I looked out ahead of me into the darkness and was thinking, what the fuck was that? With that, something caught my eye. About 20 to 25 meters away on a different path that cuts to the park left to right, I see a girl running right in front of me. Why is she wearing a nightgown? It's winter and this girl is in her nightwear. I stood still, frozen. What the fuck was going on? Who was chasing her? Another scream. This time, for no goddamn reason, I sprinted towards her, not taking my eyes off her. She was moving fast, too fast. I screamed at her, kind of angrily, but this was just to try to release some of the fear in me. She was now going faster than anyone I'd ever seen, her nightgown flailing behind her in the wind. She wasn't running, it looked like she was on a really fast conveyor belt. She's definitely floating or flying or something I can't tell. I get within 20 feet of her, my arms out, I'm screaming. What? I don't know what to say. I reach out, 5 seconds, and I'm grabbing her, and then she's gone. I'm standing alone in the middle of a dark, cold park, sweating, out of breath, and all alone. It hits me what just happened, but I'm so confused and now scared. My friend Patty lives just beyond the park, so I knock on his door. He comes out, and I just started crying. Patty, I don't know what happened. It's all I could say. He goes in, gets his coat, and walks me home. We talk about it on the way home, and Patty leaves me outside my house. To this day, I can recall that night perfectly. It happened. I don't know what it was, but it still frightened the shit out of me. Patty still remarks how when he opened the door to me that I was so pale and shocked, and the first thing he thought was, Rob, you look like you've seen a ghost. How right was he? Just to finish up, I feel I need to say this because there are so many people out there who chase these sort of situations, and some who are just plain crazy. I'm not into ghosts or spend any more time than anyone else thinking about the paranormal. I'm an ordinary Irish bloke who's a married plumber and don't know why so many of these things have happened. So I hope you like these stories, or should I say recollections instead. Love the podcast, lads. Keep doing what you're doing. All the best, Rob. If you've got a story and don't want to call in, you can always send your story to CosmicChannelsPodcast@gmail.com, and you never know who will read it.
Woo! And we're back. Just like that. Listen. The lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. But you're going to be on hold because we got a caller on the line. We got AJ from Wyoming. AJ, how's it going tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good, man. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah.
What do you got for us tonight?
So I have a first ghost experience and first Ouija experience, if we have time for both.
Let's do them. Which one do you want to go through first?
I'll do the first ghost experience.
All right, let's do it.
So, just as like a starter or just like pre-information. So my parents' house, it is a like patchwork house, so it was like add-ons to like the original house. So
yeah, like renos on renos.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's set up to where like you can kind of loop through the whole house, so like you can go from the front door all the way through the house to our laundry room, which goes into the garage, and the garage goes down into the furnace room, which leads into the rest of the basement. And so this was, I don't remember the year, but I was in 6th grade, I believe. So this was before I even got into like ghost adventures and all that paranormal stuff. My cat Priscilla was in heat, so we had her locked up in a cage so that she wouldn't go run outside and, you know, go get pregnant by the stray cats around our neighborhood.
So you're getting some feral noises, first off.
Yeah. And so it was time for her to be fed, so we kept her food in the furnace room. And, you know, it was my responsibility to feed her because she was my cat. So I went down there. She was meowing at me for food, and then I went into the furnace room and I filled up her bowl. And as I was about to leave the furnace room, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I just shut off the light before I left the room. And so it was like completely dark, and there was no one else in the basement except for me and my cat. And I shut off the light, and right after I shut the light off, I heard a little girl whisper, "I know you're here."
Oh.
And yeah, it came from further back into the furnace room, like where the door to the garage would be. And everyone was upstairs. Like I could hear like my parents talking, and my sisters were just upstairs watching TV. And it scared the heck out of me, because I have never really I didn't really know much about the paranormal side of living, so it definitely freaked me out. And ever since then, I don't go into the basement unless someone is down there or if the lights are on. And once I heard that, I booked it out of there. Like, I almost forgot to give my cat her food because I was so scared that I just booked it upstairs. And halfway up the stairs, I had the food in my hand, and I was like, oh crap. So I ran back downstairs, gave my cat the food, and then I quickly booked it upstairs. And once I got upstairs, my family was looking at me like I was crazy, and they're like, what happened to you? And at the time, I knew they wouldn't believe me, so I just kind of kept it quiet and was just like, I just heard something downstairs and it scared me. And they were just like, okay, whatever, and they just wrote it off like it was nothing. But after that instance, ever since then, I have had that uneasy feeling going down into the basement. And later on, one of my sisters confirmed that she herself saw the outline of a little girl crouched at the end of her bed in the middle of the night. And
brother, that's not in the basement. Is your sister's room in the basement?
Yeah, all my sisters.
Oh, okay. So
their rooms are in the basement.
So it's contained, at least.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she even said too that she would wake up in the middle of the night with scratches on her fingers and just on places on her body. And we did have a lot of cats, but she never let the cats sleep in her room. So it was just kind of confirmation, I guess, for me that the basement, or just the house in general, is definitely haunted.
So did you after your sisters said that, did you tell them that I heard a voice?
Yes, I did. So she was the only one that I told the story to. And when I did tell my mom. And when I told her, she was like, oh, it was probably just one of your sisters messing with you, whispering through the vents, because you could hear people through the vents. But I know for a fact that it wasn't just my sister whispering through the vents, because it didn't sound like any of my sisters at all.
I think, listen, I think you can discern a vent echo. You can discern a vent echo between someone standing behind you. You know what I mean? There it is noticeably different. So it's I mean, mind you were kids, so maybe, but I still feel there's a difference of one spooks you, one gives you the ooh, you scared me, and the other is I'm out of here.
Yeah, and it was definitely the I am out of this place, because I wasn't expecting anything like that. And I'm not afraid of the dark, but ever since then, I don't go into the basement
hold on.
unless lights
hold
are
on.
on.
AJ, hold on. Let's break something down here. You said, and I'm going to quote you. You said, you no longer go into the basement unless someone's down there or the lights are on.
Yeah.
Brother, you're scared of the dark. It's all good. We all are, man. We all are. You don't have to. It's no shame here. You're scared of the dark. So am I. Everyone is. If it's dark and creepy, we're scared. I don't want to go there either. I wouldn't go. You can invite me over for dinner, and then you'd be like, the bathroom's down in the basement. If I peek down there's no lights. I'd be like, I'll hold it. I'm good. I'll duck out early. No shame in that.
Well, and the lights to the stairs, luckily, like, they have a switch at the top and the bottom, so I was able to, like, shut the lights off as I left, but, like, it terrified me. And there were a couple times where I was downstairs in the basement alone watching Ghost Adventures, but I definitely had every single light on because I was like, I'm not gonna.
So do you still live in this house?
No, I've moved out since then.
Do your parents, anyone still occupy this house?
Yeah, my parents still live there, but they claim that there's nothing going on there because they're definitely Christians. So in their mind, paranormal stuff is just things of the devil, and they don't really like to talk about it.
It's one of those ones when they pay it no mind, right? Like maybe it's because you guys it was spooky, it was getting to you guys that it. I've talked about poltergeist activity before as like, the more attention you give it, the more powerful it kind of gets. And so maybe that's kind of the thing. It was starting to get you guys going, and it's like, all right, it's getting its mojo back. And then you guys all leave and your parents are like, you don't exist. We're right out. We're like, just,
yeah.
I think, to be honest though, I have a son now. So it's like when my son gets old enough to be like, hey, there's something in my closet, I'm going to have to just shut down my brain and be like, none of this stuff exists. I'm just going to open this closet. There's can't be anything in here. You know what I mean? Like, how else do you survive? Like, you can't in front of your kids be like, I'm not opening it. You open the closet. It's your closet, not mine. So
yeah,
maybe, I don't know, man. That's a tough one for me, but I think because my parents were like that too, and my parents live in a haunted house. There's like ghost footprints and shit, and like we stayed in their bedroom one time, and like my spouse Jamie felt like footprints on the bed, like felt like someone stood on the bed and took 2 steps and stepped off the bed. And she was like, I'm never staying here ever again. And my parents were like, that's never happened. It's like, okay, all right. I guess I would say that too if I had to live here all the time.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And even now, like when I go over there, it's not very often, but I definitely don't go there after it gets dark because it's just the energy around the house definitely changes, and it just brings up all of those like anxieties of like, they're here, the ghosts are here somewhere, and whether they talk to me or not, it still scares me.
Yeah.
So I try not to spend too much time there. Yeah,
it's very creepy. And you also said you had a Ouija board experience. Is it in this house?
Yes. So, this one's a doozy. So,
is this is after you've heard the voice? You've heard the voice?
Yes.
Your sister has
seen. So this
seen
was in high school.
Your sister has seen the apparition, the shadow of the apparition.
Yes. So my sister, she's seen.
And your next logical, like, oh well, let's contact it. Okay.
Yeah. Definitely not the greatest thing. And my belief is that there are 2 spirits there. There's the little girl, and then there's also an old man. And the old man, I have actually had a vision of. I haven't actually like seen the apparition, but I definitely seen what he looks like, and he does not look like a nice person. So with the Ouija board, like in the garage, there's a attic above it, so that's just where we like store all of our just random stuff. And I was with my 2 best friends at the time, and we decided to make our own Ouija board because we didn't have money to buy one, and if any of our parents found us with a Ouija board, they would definitely call an exorcist. And so
especially
it
with
was just
especially with a
three.
homemade one, man. Like that's next level.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure it's still up there because after this instance, we just kind of threw it behind a bookshelf. And I know that they haven't really moved very many things, so it could still be behind the bookshelf. I haven't gone up there yet to confirm it, but we were just sitting there, and we started off the session how you usually do with a prayer. We just looked up a generic one online that was along the lines of like spirits of light and like good intention come into our session and answer our questions. But it's a Ouija board, so there's no way any good spirits are coming through that.
Yeah.
So we start off the session, and we just start off asking questions like, what's your name? Are you boy? Are you girl? Things like that. And we weren't getting like too many answers. We did get the answer, I'm a male. And then we also asked a question about my friend's uncle because she told us that her uncle recently passed, like the previous year or year before that. And she asked, where's my uncle? And the only answer it gave us was bad place. And she looked at both of us and she was like freaked out a little bit because
well, she's probably like, okay, well, if this is one of you guys, you're huge pricks.
Yeah, she thought it was us, and we're like, no, because I didn't even know about her uncle. And she's like, well, that is confirmation because my uncle was not a good man. So it would make sense for us to get that answer. And after that, we kind of like took a pause from the session, and it was only me and my friend Brooke that had our hand on the planchette, which was just like a small glass that we had. And I was the one asking the question, so basically being the communicator. And once we took a break and like came back to it, we started asking more questions. I can't remember exactly what we asked, but we asked one question, it gave us a weird answer, and then I tried to ask another question, but I was frozen. Like, I just felt like this weird energy come through, and it was definitely heavy and not the type of energy you would want to be around.
Yeah.
And so as we were sitting there, like, I had the questions, in my brain, like my inner monologue was asking the questions, but my mouth was not moving. And both of my friends looked at me and they got freaked out. And I remember my friend that had her hand on the planchette, she looked at me and she was like, dude, what's wrong with you? And I didn't really give much of an answer other than like nothing. So like she was like, okay, and then she asked the question instead. But after that, there wasn't really much of a reply, it was just kind of like quiet. But she said that she looked at me and my eyes changed. Like there was something in my eyes, like something that wasn't me. Like she straight up said, like, it was not you. Like I was looking at you, but it wasn't you. And since I wasn't able to really like ask any more questions or like speak because I was frozen, she got freaked out and she pushed it to goodbye. And once we ended the session, I came back into myself, I guess, and I looked at her and I was like, why did you end it? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, why did you end it? Like, I was about to ask another question. She's like, no, dude, I had to end it. You were not yourself. You did not look like yourself. You, like, there was something in your eyes, and it just was not good. So that was like the first time I ever like actually felt anything from a Ouija board, and I feel like it kind of did affect me a little bit afterwards because I didn't know, like, I was confused because once we came out of the session, I was like, I thought everything was fine. Like, I thought things were going okay, but to them, it was not. Like, they were freaked out, and they were freaked out at me because they felt like something had come into me and like taken over.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like, or something was trying to get a hold. It's kind of what it sounds like to me, right? And like you just kind of froze, and like, do you kind of even remember the session? Like, is it kind of blurry, like when that happened?
It wasn't like blurry. Like, I definitely was still like
present.
Like, I still felt like I was in my body and I was like present in the session, but it was just like there was something blocking me from asking any further questions and getting any answers.
Yeah.
And after that, like, that's when, after we ended the session, that's when we were like, let's not fuck with this anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, we went down into my room and we just kind of like sat there and like decompressed and talked about it. And yeah, that was just like the freakiest experience I had. And I did eventually actually buy a Ouija board, and I still have it, but I haven't really like played with it because I don't really have anyone to do a session with me. And after that experience, I'm like, do I really want to do that?
Yeah, I bet after that it's like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, and I definitely, like, after that, I definitely didn't go upstairs. I did not really enter the attic space unless it was, like, absolutely necessary. And another thing that freaked us out was the light that we had up there. It was on, and it was on it, like, has this weird automatic timer, so, like, it'll shut off after a while. And it freaked them out because, like, we had it on during the session, and then at some point it just shut off, and they were like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Don't worry, like, that happens all the time. Like, it's a timer, so like that's definitely not ghosts. I can confirm that." But there definitely was an energetic change within the room, and ever since then, I've just had this fear that I would come home because when I was in high school, I parked on the garage side of the house because we have like two separate driveways, and I would park on that side of the house, so my car would be facing the window to the attic, and I always had this fear that I would just pull up to the house at night and my headlights would hit that window and there would just be somebody staring out the window. I never saw it. It was just something that my brain was like, it's going to happen someday. It's going to happen someday, but it never has.
It was mentally prepping you for it.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat said that maybe you summoned a bad spirit in that Ouija session, and some sort of guardian spirit like stepped in to stop you from going further with it.
That's a good point. Yeah, I feel like that could be possible too, because I definitely was like a Christian at the time, and I definitely was going to church like pretty much every day. So I think that definitely would be possible.
So maybe the power of Christ compelled you to stop.
Yeah, I just didn't know it, and I thought it was, the session was still going to continue. But yeah, after that, I definitely had confirmation that there is two spirits in my parents' house, and one of them is a little girl, the other one is an old man. I don't know the history because I've looked up the history of the house, and so far there's only been like there's been my parents that own it, the owners before us, and then the owners before them. So there's only been like 3 owners in the house. And I don't think anyone's died in the house because there was never anything online, and I asked my parents if anyone died in the house, and they said no. So as far as I'm concerned, no one's died in the house. But since it's a patchwork house, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they took a piece of a haunted house or a house where somebody did die.
Yeah,
and
maybe
they
it's
just
a couple houses,
never said
old
anything.
houses put together, and yeah, that's terrifying. AJ, thank you so much for calling in. My last thought of that is maybe like now that we're thinking of good spirit, bad spirit, like maybe you were talking to one of the spirits in the house, whether that be the daughter or the old man, and it's the other spirit that's kind of stepped into you to stop you. It's like, no more talk. Don't talk to this thing.
Yeah,
Right,
definitely have those guardian spirits looking over me to make sure that I wasn't diving further into darkness, I guess.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much for calling in with those.
Yeah, you bet.
And if you ever get up to testing that Ouija out and you have another experience, make sure to give me a call back.
Oh yeah, I will for sure.
All right, take care of yourself.
Yep, you too.
Whew. Things I don't like: haunted basements, dark haunted basements, hearing ghost little girls whisper, and then playing Ouija board in the same said house. And that had all those things. Terrifying. If you've got a Ouija board experience, you got a ghost, your basement was more haunted than AJ's, I want your call, 1-833-703-0424. Just like that, the lines are open. There was a couple callers on hold there I could see. We got one right now. Callers take priority. Let's go to the call. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
What up, Braden? This is Todd, dude.
Todd, how's it going?
Oh, it's going all right, man. Just, tossing back a tall, cool one.
Oh, nice, dude. I wish I could join you. I'm on the waters. I was in Mexico for a week, and then I got hit with the Monsuma's revenge. So my body is just.
Oh no.
Yeah, the revenge is. Yeah. So I'm on the water, the aguas for a while. Tim or Todd, you sent me a picture. You said,
yes, sir.
Let's go through it. What are we looking at here? I'm gonna pull it up on the screen here.
Yeah. I can't see it because I watch the YouTube through my phone, so I'm on my phone now. So.
Yeah, no worries. Where?
But yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
First, where are we looking? What are we looking for in this picture?
Okay, if you look up in the shadowed area towards like the stairs,
yeah,
zoom in a little bit, you'll start to see it.
Into the shadow.
Yeah, you'll see like the baby picture, and then to the right of it, it's
Yeah.
right there in the shadowed area.
Oh, is it this weird like hot dog hand I'm looking at?
No, I saw that too. But if you look just above that, there's like what you can see, like kind of like a set of eyes. You can see the outline of the ear.
Oh yeah, I see it. It's right. Like if I follow the.
Like kind of like straight up from the weird hot dog hand. That
Yeah,
you saw.
yeah. You can see almost like a little, like something with like sunken eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, so when I took the picture, it was my late friend's place. His wife invited me over. We were all hanging out and shit. And then the next morning I woke up. For some reason, dude, I don't know, I felt compelled to just need to take a picture. So I took it, looked at it, like zoomed in on every little part of it. I didn't see anything. 2 weeks later, I'm high, I'm bored. So I go through my phone, start looking at the picture, and then I spot that. I have another picture because I felt like that was my friend, and I looked at another picture, and the shadowed areas on his face is almost like that's the negative of that picture. So like, where you see the sunken eyes and everything, like that's almost like the negative.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. It's weird. So where was this taken?
That was in San Diego.
And were you living in this house?
No. I was there visiting.
Okay.
Actually, that area, because he committed suicide, so that area is where it happened. Like right there in the stairwell.
Man, I see him. Yeah, I'm like, I can see it when I turn my head sideways, but then when I turn my head up, I can't see it.
I took it on a T-Mobile Sidekick, so it was a little outdated, but
So
yeah,
has this picture ever been scanned or ever been printed?
Not that I know of. The only thing I've done was upload it to my laptop, and
okay.
I was even trying to go through different, I guess, settings to see if like it could still pop up, but I just
it's so weird, man.
It was weird.
I don't like it the longer I look at it, like, because now that I'm looking further up,
it gets creepier, right?
Yeah, it gets creepier. I'm like, is this one of these things where now that I'm looking at it, I got 7 days?
Oh, no. You should be good. Probably about like 7.5.
Because like now that I'm like, I'm going to make this just the black as big as I can there. Yeah, I
think there's an editing thing that you can do where it picks up, I don't know what they call it, but it's like it layers the picture, if you will. Like if something's actually in the picture, it will pick up instead of like if it was edited.
I mean, I got Photoshop and stuff. Someone's in the chat saying throw it on Photoshop and stuff, but I just don't have it set up for screen share right now, so I could do it. And then I'm not. Maybe I'll just throw it on and see if I can play it. Because I like. Yeah, it's such a weird looking. Now I'm like, is there something else in that picture? Like, my brain, because the reason why I asked if you scanned or anything, because I'm like, sometimes with really old photos that were like printed, they get printed with other stuff, and then it's like you go to the photo lab or something, they just do a really shitty job.
Oh yeah,
and you get like double exposure from like old other negatives and stuff. But this is a digital picture.
Yeah, it was uploaded straight to my laptop, and then I saved it into my email, and that's why I emailed it to you. So,
because you know what, I feel like now that I got it open in Photoshop here, and I'm tinkering around with it. This is weird, but I can. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'll have to post this.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
After, so people can see, and maybe I'll circle it. But I'm like, as I'm kind of fucking around with the levels here, I'm like, I can kind of see. It's so weird, like not where you think. I can almost see. It almost looks like there was, and I don't know if this is just I'm being tricked with the light, but like I can almost see like a yellow. I'm like a yellow background. And almost like there's like a mouse. Is there a mouse with googly eye? And I'm like, is my brain just playing tricks on me here? Am I seeing this? Like, I'm trying to like pull it out of the camera as much as I can. I'm gonna have to. I'll post this as I can. But like, I can see like it's so weird. It's just such a weird looking thing because I can see. I don't know. Yeah, teeth and ears, and looks like teeth and ears too. Yeah. Like there's like ears and teeth. Yeah, it's
almost weird. like a shadow underneath like the like near the jawline.
Yeah, but it almost looks like it has like when I'm looking at this, and maybe as I'm describing it, you can see it. If you're looking out on the stream, tell me if you can see this. If you follow my finger right across the live stream there's like a black, just about there. There's kind of a big white eye, and then if you look at that white eye and you stare at that white eye long enough, you feel like you can see two pink ears like around.
Yeah.
And then and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Is it it's so fucking weird, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've even showed like his family members, and as soon as they saw it, they're like, oh fuck, no. Like they got the chills and everything. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll just put this away,
Oh, that is so strange. Like, what the hell am I looking at? And it's like everything I tweak, I feel like I can almost get it, but I can never get it whatever it is, I can never get it in view, like fully.
Mm-hmm.
I can pull it and it just doesn't want to. Yeah, weird. That's so strange. I'm gonna play around with this for a while. And
Yeah, no, yeah.
so, how did you first see that? Like that? Like I've had to zoom in, like, and it just popped out at you.
Well, yeah. So when I first took it, like I said, I woke up that morning, and I don't know, something like compelled me to just take a picture. So I took the picture, and immediately I started going through it. You know, I started looking even at the TV because I know, you know, you get that matrix thing that happens. So I didn't bother with that. And then I looked all over. I didn't see anything, so I left it alone. About 2 weeks after that, sitting at home, high as shit, and I was like, I'm bored. I'm gonna go through my phone. So I found the picture again. So I started like really going, like combing through it. And when I got to that shadowed area and I saw that face, like I broke down. Like I started crying because I was like, oh shit, that's him. Like I know that. But yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
That's so weird.
And that was 2 weeks after I took it.
It's very strange. I'm like, it's weird because I feel like I get close to kind of being able to see what it is, and it's like the closer you get, the further you get. It's so weird. But it's like there, I can see the eyes and like teeth. It's very strange.
Hell yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for sending that in. I'll on Photoshop I'll circle what I'm seeing, and then I'll send it to you, and we'll go through it. Thank you so much for calling and giving me context with that, though.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. I love the show, love you guys. I'm sorry, Bandito, I didn't call in sooner. I was trying to get through.
Yeah. Someone said imp biscuit. I'm like, yeah, I see a little imp too. It's weird.
Yeah,
it's fucking strange, dude. I don't know why. Like, and if this wasn't a digital camera, I'd be like, I'd be in my head. I'd be like, there was another picture, and this got developed. Like they fucked up something when they were developing it, but it's a digital picture from a digital camera. Like, mind you, a bad one, like good in the day, but bad compared to now. But still, strange. Thank you so much for calling in.
Oh yeah, no problem.
All right, peace, buddy.
Later.
Now I just want to sit there and freaking tweak with these levels to see this thing. It's so weird. Yeah, the longer I look at it, more it creeps me out. I don't like it. You've taken a weird photo. You got some spirit orbs you want to share. You caught something on camera, and you want to show everyone and give some context. We love that here at Cosmic Channels. 1-833-703-0424. But the lines are now open. 1-833-703-0424. There was another caller on hold. I don't know if they got dropped or they just got a little scared. We'll keep the lines open. I'm not going to go to formally go to shareholders meetings anymore because I edit these anyway. So I don't mind just kind of hanging around. News for Cosmic Channels. I think I'm going to have to go back to streaming on Alien Theorists, YouTube and Facebook as well. We're just no one watches on the Cosmic Channels Facebook. Like no one, right? And it's like, so I'm going to just keep working on growing that channel, but I'm going to starting next week I'm going to stream back on the ATT Facebook group, and I'll stream on the ATT because more eyes means more listeners, means more stories, and that's what it's about. So, it's just been we ebb and flows. It ebb and flows just recording it. So, right now, I prefer if you want to know the best place to listen right now with our goal, listen on the Cosmic Channels YouTube page. That's the best place to view it. The reason I'm going to switch the Cosmic Channels Facebook back to the Alien Theorists one is just because there's 550 people on the Cosmic Channels page, and we usually max out at one listener on Facebook. And before we were maxing out at 23. And so it's like some of those people aren't jumping over. Maybe they're watching for a bit, but maybe it's eliciting a call. So I want more eyes on the product. So I'm gonna next week. I maybe prematurely swapped everything over. That's okay though. Live and learn. Last week, season 8 episode. Let's go. Let's look at it. Was the most listened to episode of Cosmic Channels to date. Smashed our record. Yeah, broke both listener record and download records. I think the ads, you know what? Honestly, we did the social media campaign ad. Not as good as we dropped $500 on the Audio Go ad, and hold on, let me pull it up. I don't know if I'd use it again. Honestly, I think Instagram works the best so far. And I mean, maybe it's hard to see the analytics because we can't. There's nothing for people to click the audio ad. Like they listen, they go, oh, maybe they search the show after. Whereas Instagram, they see the clip, they hit the link. The link gives them right to the download for the show for the page. So that in that context, it's better. The ad campaign is, I mean, it's only on week 2, so it's got lots of time. It has 16,525 impressions, so it's right on. It's on track. It's doing good. It's currently running on all podcasts. It's 14 days left, so we're halfway through. So probably another 16,000 impressions. Instagram, just $200 on an Instagram ad. We have, let's check that. Our Instagram ad has been killing it. Let me go to, let's check it out here. And the lines are still open. 1-833-703-0424 if you got a story. Hold on, I guess, of course, this is going to... Okay, so our ad on... So far, we've only spent, of the $200, well, it's $182. We spent $140, and we have 26,000 impressions and 1,500 website visits, which goes right to a download page. Like the link, you hit the link and you can just hit download and it goes to whatever your Spotify, Apple Podcast it clicks. So that's doing really good. The other, we did a TikTok one. TikTok metrics, not as good. So I think moving forward, Instagram's the way to go. I think my lights? No, I didn't notice my lights flicker at all. It's very my trailer right now is powered by a wall outlet, so it's very possible that the heater or something kicked on over there and then just dimmed the lights. That's probably. There's no ghost in here. I saged. It's all been saged. There's salt in the walls. Nothing's coming in here. Or nothing's getting out. I don't know. Yeah, so, the audio ad, I don't know if I'd do another one. I think that money would probably be better spent like going to Instagram ads. It's hard to say. But that, like looking at the impressions and cost-wise, I think so. But we got a call on the line. Let's go to the caller. Let's see what they got. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sheila from Montreal, Quebec.
Oh, how's it going, Sheila?
Not bad, you?
Hey, not too bad. What do you got for us tonight?
I figured I might as well call in. It's been a while. So basically, a couple of years ago now, I was visiting my mother-in-law at her house out in the country, and her son decided to come over and visit as well, but he was in a panic, because he was talking about how things in the house were going, where he lives, things were just weird. He had like a bad feeling. He felt like something was watching him constantly. So he'd come over to our place, or to his mother's place, basically to, visit and take a break. But when he came over, because I don't know if you remember me, but I had called about seeing shadow people. So basically I had told him like, oh, well, I'm seeing a shadow that's following you. And it's really big, it's really tall, it's really creepy. And
that was probably well received.
Oh, of course not. I forget. But like basically what happened was in their culture they have something similar to what's in my culture, which is little satchels that you can make, right? Like protective satchels that you put, different pieces in there. Like it could be garlic, black pepper, salt, and stuff like that. And those satchels you'd hang on the inside doorknob of all the doors in your house so that nothing can come in. So we started prepping it. There was about, I think it was 16 doorknobs we had to create satchels for. And my mother-in-law, myself, and him were all putting it together. It's probably around now 10:45 at night. And just as we finished the last bag, my mother-in-law said, okay, there you go. That's the 16th bag, last bag, we're done. And as soon as she said that, we heard what sounded like something incredibly heavy land on the house, on the roof of the house. And the house is 2 floors, but we could hear it. It was really hard. It slid down the roof and along the wall of the house, and it landed on the porch. But the thing is, our blinds were closed, and the porch is was right outside where we were sitting. But all our blinds were closed, and we were like, what the heck is that? And then it sounded like scrambling across the porch. The best way I could describe the sound is if a lion had landed out of the sky, hit the porch, and started scrambling on the porch, but like moving everything. We could hear the table that was outside moving, the chairs moving, plants, like pots tipping. We could hear just all this noise, and it lasted about 12 seconds. And when it was done, we were like, what the hell was that? But we were standing completely still, just staring at each other, because we were obviously, like in shock, or like, well, what the heck is that? We finally got enough courage to open the blind and look out, and nothing was disturbed on the porch. Everything was as it should be. And at that moment we said, okay, nobody go out. All of our instincts were like, nobody open the doors, do not go out.
Well, yeah, don't let it back in.
And we realized the cat was outside, and we're like, doesn't matter if the cat comes scratching, we're not letting him in. But he didn't even scratch the door all night. Most of us were talking all night, and maybe eventually went to bed. Most of us around 3 or 4 in the morning. So the next morning I get up, we decide to go and look out and investigate to see obviously if there's paw prints or anything odd in the grass, like depressions in the grass, or if anything was displaced or disturbed on the patio, like on the porch section. And as we're out there, we're out having smoke, talking, looking, nothing is out of place. We see the cat coming from the woods, and he's not walking towards the back porch like he normally does and just goes up the stairs. He crawled military style, very slowly along the perimeter of the house to the side door, and completely avoided that area. He was still obviously terrified of whatever it was he witnessed, and he went along the edge till he got to the side door, and we let him in. So that's a little story right there.
Holy smokes!
Really messed up.
Yeah. So you went over to his house to hang all these satchels?
No, he was visiting his mother's. So my mother-in-law, we were just all there at the same time. Did
this solve his problem then, afterwards?
No, not really. He'd been going through other things, like the way I had seen it, because I can see those types of things. His was something that I'd never seen before. It was really odd. It was like, it's like a shadow person, kind of, but it's so tall, like say you have an 8-foot ceiling, it's so tall that it curls up. It's like its head is too tall for the height of the space. So it's like it leans forward. And I would say probably something more like 12 to 13 feet tall, but like crouched. Yeah. And a little triangle mouth and little spears for hands. And I was like, I've never seen anything like that. But his family ended up calling somebody from the South to come up, from the States to come up and do some ceremony. Supposedly after like about 2 years of this, it finally disappeared.
Oh.
But I don't think it disappeared because the thing is that I know I can sort of sense where it is, and I know it's not gone. It's at someone else's house, which would be my brother-in-law's aunt's house. That's where I know it is because I can still see it if I look. If I look enough, I can see it, but I try not to because I don't want to get its attention.
Yeah.
But I know it's still there because there have been other incidents that have happened at that house where people were hanging around. Like where I see it, it's near the patio as well of that house. And there's been 2 situations now that have happened where people were on that porch and suddenly collapsed and had an epileptic seizure when they had no history of anything like that. And even their dog had a seizure in the exact same spot. So although it doesn't bother him, it's not gone. It's still there somewhere.
Now, when did you become attuned to this kind of stuff? When did you realize that you were, were sensitive to seeing this kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, I'd been seeing stuff as a kid, but I just didn't know that it was not real. Do you know what I mean? Like as a kid, I would see people walking through walls, but to me it seemed normal. Like when I was 2 years old, 3, 4, I would see this all the time. I think, it's a good question. I think when I kind of really realized, hey, this is not normal, to be able to sense these things or see these things or know what someone's going to say before they say it, or, oh, this person's going to call us in a minute and the phone will ring. Like these weird, psychic impressions. I started questioning it, I think, when I was 14. And being like, okay, am I crazy, guys? Let me know. And I'd ask my family, let's check the statistics on this and try out, what are those cards called? The star, the waves, the square, the circle.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of the...
Yeah, I don't know what
I forget the name of the card.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
So that's when I started to, practice more with that to try to, sharpen it. When I realized, hey, there seems to be a certain amount, a certain percentage of success rate here. So I started to sharpen it. But I mean, even then, there were things that happened that I'm like, that's just, I can't even believe it. Where I'm just like, how the heck could I have known that? Or, premonition dreams or, those types of things. It does make you question it and go, is this really, is it chance? You really start to question those things. But in terms of believing and, starting to rely on it, kind of like your sixth sense, when you start to rely on those types of things, I think I started really relying on it when I was about 20, 23 or so. Yeah.
Someone in the chat is asking, do you think it's possible that the sound that you heard could have been this shadow person being forced out through the roof and then fleeing away?
Oh shit, I had never thought. I'm sorry, didn't mean to swear.
No, hey, it's an adult show, no problem.
All right, fuck yeah. Yeah, I'd never thought of that. That's actually really creepy.
Right, because you hung the 16th one, and all of a sudden, if this thing was following him, it just gets yeeted out of the house. Right? It's like, holy, what's all these satchels are? Right, it's no longer welcome.
Flung out and then falls down, back down. Ooh, that's creepy. Yeah, I'd never thought of that.
Right, and then has a little fit on the deck before leaving.
No. I definitely hadn't thought of that. But I mean, a lot of those times when those types of experiences happen, in the moment you're like, wow, that's incredible. But then as the days go by, it's kind of like your brain starts to go, no, that's not really what you experience, and you try to rationalize it.
Yeah.
I find I still do that as the years go by. I'll try to rationalize and explain it away.
I mean, it's always fascinating to talk to someone who is, I always like to say, force sensitive. Zener cards, that's what they're called. Zener cards.
Zener cards. Yeah,
Zener cards. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, I knew it would pop into my brain. I was like, sometimes it just takes a couple minutes. Thank you so much for calling in with that. That is truly terrifying to think about. There's something, lurking, and where this thing's currently residing. That's the most terrifying thing.
I haven't looked in a while, but 5 years ago was the last time I kind of really concentrated on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's still there.
Do you think it feeds off people? Is that what it's doing? What do you think? Its motive? So it's
100%.
just looking for a host.
Yeah, probably, because usually it's their energy suckers.
Yeah.
You know, in my opinion, that's what it is, at least. Because every time I've ever seen it, and I've said this before when I called in, they tend to like hang on people, like they're physically attached to people. If they're not just following them, but they're also often hanging off a person's body, like they'll be on your shoulders and stuff.
Now, and you may not know this, but if you like, if someone listening suspects that they maybe are, you know, being sucked upon by one of these things, what would you recommend them do? What can they do?
Well, I'm not a pro at any of this, and I would hate to give any advice that's like looped in a way that people wouldn't actually look into it medically.
Yeah.
But ultimately, oftentimes it's super low energy. You start to notice that you're feeling a little bit more withdrawn. You don't want to go out as much. You kind of wallow in sadness a bit more. Like my friends who've gone through it have described it like as if somebody put a really heavy blanket on them. Like they just didn't have the energy to get up and get their day started or things of that sort. But you generally, it's energy loss and general fatigue. It could even be like an appetite. You might not want to eat at all, or you eat too much. It's anything that's just suddenly not normal.
Yeah, weird. Oh, I can't get the image now of this thing lurking, standing a little too tall.
I mean,
for
you guys had a podcast that I don't remember which episode it was, but you were talking about, or somebody had called in, I think. They're talking about one that was hunched over, that like was up to the ceiling but was too tall for the space and it hunched over. And I was like, oh, I'm not the only one who's seen something like this. It was really interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about Cosmic Channels is when people share these stories and stuff. And I mean, it's like fringe topics, right? So people share these stories, and then other people are like, shit, I had that same experience, or I saw something very similar. So it's cool to make those kind of connections for people. But again, thank you so much for calling in. That was truly terrifying. I'm gonna have to watch a comedy or something now before I go to bed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Oh my God. Now that's I just can't get that image of this thing just too tall for the space, hunched over. This little triangle mouth. Terrifying. Lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. But yeah, we're just over halfway to the goal of getting that UK extension, so then UK callers can call in. I feel so bad for the couple UK callers that got nailed with some big bills. It's so weird. It's toll free for everywhere else other than UK. UK has their own like toll free number, so stupid, but whatever. It is what it is. So I kind of want to make it so we can get some more UK calls, and we're halfway to being to doing that. If unless they say they're closed, they're open. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Braden. My name is Nathan.
Nate?
Calling back again for the second time. How are you?
Good. How are you? You sent an email.
I did.
You did.
I hope you have that.
I do. I showed it earlier, and I was saying I want more context. Let's go through it. First off, tell me about this. What happened here?
Yeah. So, which one do you have open? Again, I don't have it.
I will pull up. So the first one I'll pull up is the kayaking photo.
Yes. So both of those were taken on a kayak at the same time.
Okay, so go through it. Where were you? What was going on that day?
Yeah, so some buddies of mine, doing a little cabrewing trip on a river we typically handle. Nothing too extreme, nice easy float, some beers and some good times. And as we're coming around this bend in a rather large group of, we'll call them pedestrians, they're not really our group of people. They're all floating by, and I just kind of like turn around to take a picture of other people, not the ones in the photo. And I noticed after the fact, once we got back to land, and I'm kind of sorting through all my pictures, that there's a certain object behind these other people sitting on the shore. And at first, I didn't think I saw what I saw, or what I hope everyone else sees. But it looks like a human head.
Yeah.
And I can't get over it that is... And it's like not where someone would be laying. It looks like it's sitting on a rock.
I mean, it almost looks like... Because I've got the other one now, the one that's kind of just of the head.
Yeah.
And I have it zoomed in. And it's so weird because I'm like, it's hard to say. Is it sitting on a... Because part of me thinks, I'm like, does it have a cowl there, like underneath the jawline? Or is that my brain playing a trick on me? Like, it's very... Like, that is a floating head, like, when you look at it.
Right.
Right? Like...
Yeah, so that's... What you're looking at is basically just like a rocky little curve of the river. So, you know, where rocks are just deposited when you get high tide or high flow. And you're kind of coming around a bend there. No one ever stops. That backs up to private property. I know that much.
Yeah.
Like this section of river, they tell you don't get off on the right-hand side. It's all private. If you have to stop, do it on the left. Like that whole kind of thing.
And so that head's on the private property where people say don't go?
Right. That would be on the right-hand side, right on private property.
Okay.
And it's just real eerie. I've been back to that spot a couple times.
No head?
And no head. Nothing there. But at the same time, it looks completely different. You know, we've had river wash through numerous times. So that's just something I had to share and get out there. Because to me, that is just creepy as can be. And now every time I go through there, my friends are always like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm just watching the shoreline.
Yeah, I mean, it is... I've got it open on the stream, and I've got it open on my, on my other monitor here, and the more you zoom in, it's almost, you're like, hey, well, now I can't see it, but then you zoom out, and you're like, yeah, it's like a head with an open mouth.
Yeah.
Like someone...
I hate to say it, but it's what I would expect to not find the rest of the person.
Yeah.
You know, if that was kind of removed and set on a rock.
Yeah, I mean, that's... Because, like, when you zoom out fully, when I'm looking at this photo, and I zoom out fully to, like, it's normal, I'm, like, clear as day, can see, like, a flesh tone head.
Yep.
Right? And then as I zoom the picture in, because I'm like, I want to see a better look, the flesh tone goes away, and it kind of blends in more with the rocks. And I can still see the shape of the head, but not... I can... Like, it almost blends in more until, like, when you back it out is when you really see, like, you're like, that is a weird... Man, it's freaky. Like, and...
Right, and the height is just wrong. That's what gets me. When you look at the one with the people, you know, right next to it, you zoom in on that one, you can see a color difference between the object and what it's sitting on, and it just doesn't look like the shape looks wrong. The height from the rock to where it is looks wrong.
Yeah, no, you're right. This one is like, no, that's a creepier one because it definitely is. It's like sitting on a rock or sitting on something. Like,
yep.
Very.
And you can see how people are just going right past it. Like those people right there, they had no idea. They're even closer than I was.
Well, when I'm looking at it, so and maybe you can paint me a little bit of a better picture. But so when I'm looking at this, is that like as you're coming down the river, right? So obviously you're coming. If I'm looking at this photo with the kayakers coming towards you, who's taking the picture, is that like a bend? A slight bend if I up to the right. So maybe it's just one of those
there's
things.
Another
that's
one that I sent you that actually has like the GPS coordinates for the photo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that. Let me just pull this up.
You can kind of see how it kind of like just slight curve, like nothing too extreme, but it's enough that you're coming around and you're focusing on turning left.
Yeah, and then it's tucked in kind of under that tree there on the right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very, very creepy.
It always makes me a little worried, like there's a little
Morrow, Ohio.
Dexter Morgan or somebody on the Little Miami River.
Have you ever like when was this take? This was 2019?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's what it says on the metadata of this 2019 May 27th.
Yep.
I mean, have you ever?
One time, I told the guys, they pick you up and they shuttle you back to your car at the upriver.
Yeah.
And I told the dude, I was like, hey, look, this looks a little weird. I caught it. And he goes, oh, okay, man, yeah, sure. But they're all like high school kids that are running a canoe rental.
Yeah.
They didn't care.
I mean, you know what you could do? I mean, the only other thing you could do is you could contact, like, I don't know what it is in that area, like the local sheriff office or something, and be like, hey, just out of curiosity, I took these pictures on this river, and I think there was a head on the bank. Was there ever any kind of police report or anything that these might go along with? That you guys might be interested in these?
I might have to do that, reach out and see.
It's just...
That'd be really creepy to find out. Like, the guy's like, yeah, we've been looking for these, or we've had reports.
Yeah, or something, or maybe someone else reported something. Because I'm like, it's not like there's like for the people who are just listening to this, there's not like blood on the rocks or anything. This just looks like, from the distance, and again, when you look at the photo zoomed out, it just looks like a bald head sitting on the rock.
It looks bald or a real blonde, kind of.
The only reason I'm gonna say not blonde is because of how round it is. It's so perfectly round.
Oh yeah.
Right? And it's like, I mean, that's just so
the
weird.
only thing I could think, like, if someone played a prank and that looked, it was a mannequin head.
Yeah.
But that's the only rationale I give it. But at that point, like,
it's
I don't know. It looks, the color's wrong for it to be a mannequin.
That's what I'm thinking too, because I was kind of thinking, mannequin head at first. When I look at that second picture, I was thinking that it's some sort of mask with a cowl, like a chest cowl. But then when I look at the second picture, you can see clearly that you're like, oh, no, that's not a cowl. It is sitting on a rock. And someone's saying it looks like a hairdresser's head, but I'm like, it's just, I don't know, maybe. It's just, it doesn't look right. Maybe. I get it. The picture is so weird. It's weird enough that I'm looking at it. It's weird enough that I'm not convinced that it is. Because when I look at the picture of them, like that picture, or this one with the people, like, it's just two different, I don't know, man. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that it's a hairdresser's head. Because, I don't know, it's creepy. It is creepy, especially coming off the heels of hearing about, like, the flying heads stuff in the forest.
Ooh.
Right? So,
I don't know if it's the right part of the, like, right area, but it could be if they flew far enough.
Well, but that's just it's a Native American, like, folklore, right? I know it's Pacific Northwest, but I'm sure, like, if that's some sort of cryptid, is it contained to
this
the
river is on the Snake Mounds area. I don't know if you've, I think you guys have covered some of that stuff up there in Ohio. Like the weird mound formations that the native tribes put in to the hillsides and stuff, and they're still here today. And like, you see them from the aerial and they look like snakes.
Yeah. So how often does this head keep you up at night?
At least once a year when we go kayaking.
You think about it? Yeah. I mean, even now I'm like, I want to know, like, if you do some digging and you reach out to the local, I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? You just like, hey, you know what? I've took these and I didn't at the time. I just thought it was weird, but now I'm thinking that, I just want to check to make sure that, these couldn't help a missing persons case or something, or if it was, and
something. Yeah, at the time we definitely did not want it to be involved with authorities getting off the river.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's interesting one, man. Thank you Thanks
Yeah,
so much for
more than
sending that
over.
in. That's terrifying stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll call you again later.
All right, take care of yourself.
Have a good night, man.
You too. Bye. Oh, that's yeah, I don't know. It's back to back. Season 8, Haunted Heads. So I don't know. That one, maybe. You could tell me that that's a mannequin head. Maybe. And I'm saying maybe. It just the placement, it's weird. Strange. Lines are open 1-833-703-0424. If someone was on hold, so if they're gonna pick up, no, they hung up. Okay. Well, you know what? Just like that, the Cosmic lines are now closed. So we're gonna shut her down for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Thank you everyone who's supporting the show. Bandito single-handedly tonight supporting the show. Thank you so much. And we'll be back next week, same cosmic time, wherever you watch these things, in a couple other places to make it easier for everyone. Peace out, everybody. And Julissa. I saw Julissa just sent long-time support of the show. Thank you, Julissa. Now I'm peacing out. Cosmic lines are now closed.